All right, so I just left the theater from seeing Avatar Fire and Ash, the epic third entry into the Avatar saga. So, what did I think? I thought it was okay. So, I think the best thing this movie has going for it is the formatting. I saw this movie in Dolby 3D, and I thought it looked great and it sounded great. I'm actually not the biggest fan of 3D. I don't really like wearing the glasses. Avatar is usually the exception. Most 3D movies, they shoot and then they convert to 3D after the fact. Avatar, they actually shoot it in 3D, and that's usually why it looks so much better. So the 3D definitely adds another dimension. It adds depth to the movie overall. But even then, I feel like the 3D in this movie wasn't like exceptional in the way that the first two Avatar movies were. They didn't really do anything new or groundbreaking. Obviously, the 3D in the first Avatar movie was like revolutionary at the time. And then Avatar The Way of Water came out, and there was kind of a new aspect of 3D where they show you all this like underwater stuff. And this movie doesn't really have anything new that they bring to the table as far as the 3D goes. So it's kind of just standard. After a while, you kind of almost forget it's even in 3D. Now, this movie clocks in at about 3 hours and 17 minutes, which I think is at least about 30 minutes too long. Now, I'm not a person that minds sitting through a really long movie as long as it serves the story. Sometimes you need a 3 hour plus movie to get through the narrative that the filmmakers are trying to convey, but this wasn't one of those situations. In my opinion, James Cameron didn't need 3 hours and 17 minutes to tell this particular story, and I think he could have easily shaved off a half an hour of this movie. I felt like there were a lot of redundant scenes, a lot of rehashing of the same old things we've already kind of covered before. I just feel like there was a lot of fat that could have gotten trimmed off of this movie to make it flow a little tighter than it did. Now, my biggest issue is the story. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with the story to Avatar Fire and Ash. The problem is that it's the same story from the other two movies that came before it. It hits on a lot of the same plot points, a lot of the same beats. It kind of revisits some of the same tropes that we saw just in Avatar The Way of Water. And it's basically the same movie over and over again. The climax to this movie is the same climax to the first two. And I found that it was just pretty predictable. It didn't really deliver us anything new. It didn't have anything new or interesting to say. And overall, I walked out of the theater just kind of feeling like I didn't really gain anything having sat there for over 3 hours watching this movie. There's also this subplot with the whales from The Way of Water that I felt was really kind of unnecessary in this movie. I feel like we just kind of went through this in The Way of Water. So it kind of felt like, why are we going through this again? We just did this in the last movie. So that was another thing that kind of frustrated me in this movie as well. Another thing with this movie that left me pretty disappointed was with how little of the Fire Tribe people that we actually got. In Avatar The Way of Water, we get introduced to the new Water Tribe. We see their culture, their way of life, how they kind of do things. They introduce us to the water. We go underwater, we meet new creatures. It was really kind of a refresher of the world of Pandora, and they let us see it in a different kind of light. Now, the new Fire Tribe definitely plays a big role throughout this movie, but we never really get a good look at them in the way that we got to look at the new Water Tribe in The Way of Water. We get to see a few interesting things about them, but eventually they also kind of take a back seat to a more generic plot line. I think the potential was there, but overall, I think the execution wasn't the best, and it just left me kind of wanting more. So overall, I thought this movie was okay. It kind of feels like the Avatar franchise is running out of steam. I hope I'm wrong because they've got 2 more sequels lined up. Unfortunately, after walking out of this one, I don't really feel excited to see the next Avatar films. I'll probably still go out and see them, but I'm not really looking forward to them, unfortunately. Which is a shame because I did really enjoy the first Avatar movie. I was moderately excited for The Way of Water. I thought Way of Water was okay also. And this one, I think, just kind of fizzled overall, unfortunately. But those are just my thoughts. Have you had a chance to go see Avatar Fire and Ash? If so, hop down in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. And with that said, I'm out of here, guys.